In this video, we generate the Euler's decaying sine using the imaginary IMEXP complex functions in Google Sheets and Excel. We begin with the values of V and W. So this is data validation from the list from 0 to 0.4. So we can start with 0. Likewise, the value W is data validation, list of items from 0.6 to 1.4. And we can start with 0.6. Now the data set of the sine function, the decaying sine function. So array formula, exponent minus v, that's minus v, times x, that's the first part, times sine wx, so sine w times x. And we'll chart this. Insert chart. And we use scatter chart. Row 1 is header. And series, show the trend line. The type, polynomial. The degree, 8. For the label, use the equation. So here's our trend line and polynomial of the Euler's sine function, the decaying Euler's sine function. Next, we continue the use of the imaginary part. Begin with the IMEXP. So this is equal to array formula. Now this is a complex number, so we use complex. Minus Vx, so minus V times X. Instead of plus Wxi, we use comma. And Wxi, so W times X. The comma represents I, meaning this is the imaginary part. Now we continue with the IMEXP. So that is, because that's e raised to the power, this complex number. So IMEXP, the Euler's number. And enter. But we're interested, because this is sine, we're interested on the imaginary part. So this is array formula, imaginary of these values. Now they are all in the same trend line. Now we show the equation. So series, trend line, the type, polynomial, the degree, 8. For the label, use the equation. So here's our trend line and polynomial of the Euler's decaying sine function. We increase the frequency to 0.8. So our blue has a shorter, the wavelength is now shorter. We also shorten the red one. The Euler's Euler sine. Then the sine function, the decaying sine function, shorten it. We also shorten the wavelength of the Euler sine. Now they're the same. Changing it to 1.2 or W, we also change the W to 1.2. Change this to 1.4 then change it to 1.4. Suppose we change the value V, the decay, to 0.1. We also change the value of V to 0.1. Reverse it, lengthen it, so we have now the longer wavelength. We also change this to 1.2. Now they're the same. Change this to 1. We also change this to 1. Change this to 0.8. So this is now the function, the decaying function. Also change the Euler sign to 0.8. Change the decaying function to 0.6. We also change the Euler sign to 0.6. Change this to 2. We can change this to 2. Increase it to 0.8. Increase it to 0.8. Increase it to 1. This increase to 1. 1.2. And it's also 1.2. 1.4. And increase this to 1.4. Now they're the same. Change this to 0.3. Change this to 0.3. Now they're the same. Change this to 1.2. We change this to 1.2. Change this to 1. Change this to 1. So this completes the use of the functions IMEXP, imaginary, complex in Google Sheets or Excel, to show the Euler's sine function, the decaying sine function of Euler's.